I'm super excited here to bring to you a session by Upskill Digital. My name is Gori, Yahaya. I'm the founder and CEO of Upskill Digital, and I'll be doing a session on digital leadership and resilience. It's all about pivoting in a climate of crisis. And this is particularly interesting because from a startup perspective, we need to work out how we can be more agile as leaders, how we can adapt well and foster and harness this power of resilience. So this is for the NextRise 2020 conference, and I'm super excited to be able to bring this to you as well. So let's just get an understanding around the crisis so far. So it's really important to understand that sort of rapid upskilling and reskilling of workforces have really sort of driven companies, startups to be able to adapt and navigate this during this current period. But I want to really focus on what digital leadership and resilience really means. So who are we? Upskill Digital. We are a training and transformation agency. So we deliver large-scale training to organizations, really help their workforces embrace new technologies and adopt these to help drive their company forward into the digital age, helping startups really identify the skills they need to be able to drive their company forward and grow in the scale and pace that we know they can. We empower your team to succeed, and we understand that people are your greatest asset. So we focus on the people first. How do we do this? We work with a network of very charismatic and highly, incredibly engaging individuals across the UK, across the globe, from the APAC region to the US, to Australia, to Africa. We do large-scale programs that really help people engage and learn at scale. And they cover a number of different courses, from AI for leadership to digital marketing to many different courses as well. But I really want to kind of get under the skin of this session, and what our focus is going to be around is firstly harnessing resilience. So what does that mean? What does that actually look like from your perspective? We'll look at sort of developing digital leadership. So what does it look like? We'll also look at fostering creative innovation. So let's have a think about what that really means from a perspective of a founder or a corporate themselves. Now, businesses have been going through an incredible amount of change, especially during this particular period. Different businesses of different sizes, there will be different stages of this depending on their agility. And, I thought I'd break down sort of three sort of main stages we're seeing, businesses and startups go through currently at the moment. And it's important when you're going through this stage to establish workforce strategies and actions that can help you drive yourself forward. And again, we focus on the people first. So, you start off with the respond phase. And in the respond phase, you're thinking, what skills gap exists? It's almost like survival mode for some people, for some organizations, right? How do we make sure we can adapt, dig in deep, and make sure that we can keep the lights moving and or really sort of take this opportunity to pivot, change, get ourselves into the right mode to move forward. Then you start to think about how you redirect your resources, your energy. How do you recover? You'll see large organizations that are really focused on driving change in their organizations to adapt to this current crisis that we're facing at the moment. So, do you ensure your leaders have the right resources to be able to engage with as well? And then you look at towards the thriving stage. So we're going from that short to mid to long-term stage where you're thinking, what does thriving actually look like for us as an organization? Kind of holistically rethinking the composition and the size of your organization and making sure that you can drive yourself forward, but really dig in deep and get that feel of the resilience that you need. We've learned that communication in a crisis is incredibly important. So hearing what leaders need, hearing where they might have gaps is very important. But I want to kind of dive into this idea of resilience, because regardless of how hard you've been hit, there needs to be you need to adopt a level of resilience, right? That's key to surviving and thriving in this current period. And, there are a number of different definitions of resilience. One that I quite like is that resilience is the ability to withstand and deal with and or recover from difficult situations. It includes our capacity to make the best of things. So, to cope with stress, really rise to the occasion. And actually, we have never faced this level of adversity in our lifetime. And it's going to be very new, obviously, for everybody, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of unknowns. And we need to understand what resilience means as we start to grasp this. But one of the simple approaches that I take, and there's sort of quite a wide spectrum of resilience, is looking at harnessing what we call a growth mindset, right? And it's essentially sort of preparing for as many eventualities as you can. Essentially, you can't really prepare for every eventuality. It's an impossible task, right? But you can equip yourself with the mindset of growth, right? So you can ensure that you can arise, right, with the tools that you have to be able to learn and adapt, recover, and also thrive. We're all on a constant evolving journey of self-discovery, and allowing yourself to deal with the growth mindset will set you up in a position to be able to acquire the skills that you need to deal with whatever is thrown your way. And that's really, really important. So having that mindset to grow is incredibly key. But I look at more than just sort of bouncing back. You're hearing a lot of people saying, let's return to the new normal, the next normal. Let's get back to where we think that baseline was. But I feel we can go a bit further. It's what a growth mindset really helps you do. It's harnessing the power of resilience in a unique way, and using that opportunity for exponential growth, right? So you're not just returning to a state of how it was before, but you're taking that growth mindset, those resilience mechanisms that we can hopefully build, and bouncing forward, right, into a new area, new era, and in a way that makes you feel that, okay, it's a bit unknown, but at the same time, I feel like I'm moving in the right directions. And sort of in times of crisis and hardship, we do have the tendency to play it safe, right? To keep within our comfort zones, but you need to embrace the uncomfortable leverage of the climate of change that you're no doubt already experiencing. To do that and use that to branch out and really get a really good feel for, what opportunities might lie for you as a business, where you can pivot, where you can foster that mindset of resilience. So you're able to make mistakes, but knowing for a fact that it is an unknown that you can step into as comfortably as you can, because you're going to adapt in incredibly profound ways, which is important to note. So one quote that I like to use, and I don't often quote Winston Churchill, but he once said, and this he said whilst he was sort of trying to helping to form the United Nations, which was that never waste a good crisis. And I really do appreciate this approach, because it allows you to consider this opportunity and how you can adapt to hopefully change your model, change your business model, look at different ways to approach it. He actually Winston Churchill once said that he didn't believe the United Nations would ever be formed without World War II, right? So it's one of those opportunities to actually kind of grow off this, and this is going to change everybody across the board. And we've seen sort of years of slow development across businesses around digital transformation. Businesses deciding to transform their businesses over a period of 4, 5, 6 years, but within the space of 2 or 3 months, seen really intense change and adoption and an acceleration of transformation. So it's really jumping on the back of this and ensuring that we can keep the momentum going as well. But what does leadership look like? Digital leadership, right? So we think about ourselves as individuals who are engaging in leadership positions, whether it's with our startup or as a corporate, and understanding what does it mean to lead in a digital age. So there are a few characteristics, and there are many that are out there in terms of what can really drive good digital leadership. But what I want to mention is that any kind of crisis will demand a new suite of capabilities, right? To successfully lead through these unprecedented times. And future leadership will require a fast track of digital transformation, right? Require a fast track of digital mindset, and this will be synonymous with your business strategy, not just a standalone. I'm gonna a standalone program, for example. So there are a few characteristics that I pick out, which I think are going to be interesting. Which is, leaders need to be an agent of change. Right? Means they must be agile. They must be able to sort of nurture risk tolerance, right? So understanding what that means is continuously evolving, right? As an entrepreneur and a stoic and an individual, me myself, when I'm trying to exhibit what it means to be an agent of change, I'm considering everything that comes my way, every barrier, every challenge, every piece of adversity to be an opportunity to flex my agility, right? And leaders in a digital age must be very, very agile. It's not the time to fall back into old habits. As I mentioned, go back into your safe zone. You need to be able to move forward and grow off the back of it. So use the platform to go forwards, not backwards, right? And it's really important, because we'll crave going back to normal interaction, but that's not really going to be the case. The next thing about is inclusivity, right? Leadership is inclusive. By design, it should be inclusive, which means we need to start stop thinking about some of the hierarchical leadership structures that we have and think about leading through a slightly different lens. You know, organizations need to identify influences in the organization that can be culture carriers, carry that culture of the organization that is inclusive, that brings people that might not feel they have the resources to be able to adapt, innovate, create, and give them the framework to be able to do so and create the environment for them to be able to engage, you know, across in individuals as well. And inclusivity is very, very important, especially as we're adapting on technology that needs to be inclusive for society to thrive. Then looking at being data driven. And analytics, for example, is a key part of doing business in the digital age. The amount of data we have access to is also unprecedented, and day by day we are giving access to more. And you know, people often have a very narrow view of digital, especially in light of sort of a crisis state, right? And it's more than just you know, virtual work or remote working or just doing things back and forth, or even just looking at web apps or mobile apps. Really, it's a much bigger canopy or umbrella of technologies, right? It's a much bigger mindset that we believe. So things like artificial intelligence, analytics, you know, these elements are really important tools that we need to be able to grasp and get hands on with, so that we can adopt the growth that we know our organizations need to have to be able to grow. You'll see a lot of companies often struggling with trust, and I think foundations of trust is also incredibly important, because what we want to do is help individuals have a good grasp of engaging with their employees, their colleagues, and ensure that we build that foundation. It's actually you know, trust is at the foundation of sort of cooperative and collaborative leadership, and it's quite important that we understand that as well. There's this bit of continuing that I find quite interesting, because, to be honest, we get out what we put in, and you know, the best way to trust someone is just to trust them, right? And you know, as a leader, we've got to ensure that we can show our employees that you know, we know they're worthy of what they're doing, and we just expect them to deliver as well. And I think it's really important that we can exhibit that continuum there. The other thing is to I always say important, you know, aim for speed over elegance, and perfect is the enemy of good, right? Especially during a crisis when prompt action is required, acting quickly, all the rest of it. It's really important that you'll know that there are many unknowns, and every day, every week ahead, we'll realize there are going to be many more unknowns. So we have to be comfortable to act with imperfect information, right? And to act in a way that helps us move forward. You know, resilient leaders take decisive action, you know, with courage, and they base that off imperfect information. So, you know, it's important that we can act agile and move forward in this current state. But we talk a bit about innovation and creative innovation, and I wanted to have a think about just a few things that you could do to foster that environment in your organization that will drive creative innovation. And you know, one of the first things is create an environment that enables. That means, you know, it's up to leadership to create a culture that allows people to think outside the box and encourages people to do so, right? And helping them, you know, think. There are companies like Google have this sort of concept where they have your 20% time, which means they allow people to do something for 20% of the time that's completely different to their day job, right? Or different to their day job. So it motivates people to think in innovative ways, work on projects that are a little bit different, but gets the creative juices flowing as well. Give them the freedom to create. You know, that allows you to think about when can they structure in some creative time if necessary, and how can you ensure that you're allowing them to do that? Are they holding daily stand-ups, brainstorming sessions? You know, are they really engaged in that, and how often are they doing so as well? Driving relentless curiosity is a really important one for me, especially considering we are an organization that delivers learning, and we want people to be insatiably curious, right? And innovation really begins with curiosity. So learning more about your customers, giving them more information about or gathering more information about what the market is doing, and using that data to leverage to innovate, right? So ensuring that you're curious about what can we try differently, what can we experiment with, you know, and finally adopt a failure-friendly mindset, right? So traditionally corporates and companies have sort of zero tolerance to risks or mistakes, but actually you need to ensure that people have the psychological safety to be able to do that, the psychological safety to be able to try new things and build that innovative culture so they can and fail. And the biggest businesses that are really doing well out there are much more comfortable with failure, right? They know how to embrace innovation amongst leaders, executives, and colleagues so that they can think outside the box and be open to new ideas. But know that if these new ideas don't work, then they can have a sort of balance on how do we learn from them and move forward as well. And one of the final things I wanted to mention was don't limit your challenges, right? Challenge your limits, and it's a great quote here that I like, because I think what we try to do, as I mentioned in a crisis state, is fall back into what we think is comfortable, and we don't believe that we can really push the limitations to what we can achieve. So it's very important that you look at challenging your limits, thinking how you foster that environment, creative environment for innovation, right? Helping people think outside the box, and ensuring that no ideas are bad ideas, because they may spawn better ideas. They may spawn people to think differently about how they approach certain challenges that you as an organization need to face. And that really kind of hones in true when I think about digital leadership, right? Which is that we often place these challenges in front of ourselves, and we need to ensure that we can smash through these as well. So hopefully that gives you an overview and understanding of how we can adapt within times of crisis and showcase these characteristic traits of digital leadership, fostering that resilience, helping us drive ourselves forward, in building an inclusive environment, and empowering our teams, our human capital, to be able to drive forward. So that's really what I wanted to come across and get across to you today. Upskill Digital, we're an organization that builds large scale learning programs for startups, large organizations, corporates across the globe, and at scale. We like to develop content that really gets you feeling that it drives impact, it drives behavioral change, mindset change, to get people really thinking innovatively, and also adopt technologies in a way that helps them feel more comfortable with the work you set for them as well. So identifying the skills gap and helping them grow off the back of that. The training that we deliver is through our network of incredibly charismatic, expert digital individuals that really can harness that learning mindset and help individuals continue to learn. And we do it at scale, right? So we have people across the globe. We've trained over 300,000 people, even from face-to-face and in virtual, over the last few years. And we're super excited to hopefully, work with more and keep driving this level of curiosity and innovation that we know people can aspire to have. So, thank you so much for your time on this session. My name's Gori, yahaya. I'm very excited to bring Upskill Digital to you and the discussion around digital resilience and leadership, and hope that you have a chance to take away some of the key points here. Drive that innovation in your organization, empower your employees, empower your team, get them excited about thriving in the future and thriving out of the crisis itself. Thank you very much.